Hey guys, how you guys doing? So I wanted to jump on and do a really quick reading from here. Um, and it's always hard to like jump in on a certain spot because like it gives so much information prior to where I'm jumping in and just reading. But some of these things like just like gives not only myself like an aha because I have awareness of a lot of things and sort of shares a lot of stuff with me and my guides, angels, things like that. But like in the writing of this, I actually get stuff as I'm writing it, so I'm getting it on different levels of awareness. So it's the me, Laura, who's writing, and then I'm getting not only as it comes through, but I'm getting to write it, and then I'm getting to read it, and then when I'm reading it, there's other information that comes in that kind of is in between that space, which brings in awareness and it helps me connect the dots and it changes my awareness, my perception at the same time. So there's a lot of stuff going on when I'm doing this, and so it's really interesting to see. Um, so I'm just going to read this little clip because I haven't done a little clip in a while. So it says, "Thereby the awareness of its own being is unto itself its own master." Right. So we're our own masters, right? As the other clip said, we're our own gods, right? We're creating our own reality, our own awareness, our own world, because there's all these different worlds of everybody. They all have their individual world that they live in, which is like their own bubble, if you will. Um, and that's your space that you live in. And from what you live in is everything is here. And I have a diagram that I'll be putting in the book, and it's in the pre-books too. I have like a little diagram of the circle and then the person and then everything inside your circle, and which can come from like your past, your present, different things like that. And it all comes together, which is your lens that you see from. So this is your own world, right? So we are unto itself its own master, meaning to be that which you give to it is that which arises within you, whereas it is that which isn't, for it is that which I am, that I am being at the time, meaning to that which I give meaning, right? So I give meaning to it, which is that which isn't for all things that is existing at one, for is all existing at one time. So everything exists at one time. There is no time line except for where we are, like onto what we are being in this moment, right? There's a timeline. So this is my present moment where I am, but all things are being at the same time. It all exists. It's just what you're seeing about it at the moment, right? So it's like your focus of what's happening in your moments, right? Meaning you are, oh, for all that is existing that isn't of, meaning you are your awareness of it, not that which isn't being, for I am of myself, not that which isn't, for I am of who I am, whereas I am not, which can seem a little bit confusing, which is, it says here, thereby I am of them to be of a master unto itself, not them, for I am of source, not them. So we are meant to be of our own masters, our own creators, our own God, not them, right? And however, we do get that mixed up because we believe everything outside of us is what matters when really it's within. It has to be within that goes without, not out within, right? Thereby is the giving permission to be that which I am, that I am not being of for myself, which is the taking up of. So for myself, if I am not being of my own master, right? So if I'm not being, in my power, my true self, we're giving our power away to others, and so they become our master, right? And so it's like what you would call the follower, right? We follow them instead of our own intuition, our own guidance, our own higher self, source. We don't follow source. We follow what they're saying. We believe what they're saying, right? Which has been from many generations before, as they've taken over, and come up with all these different religions that a God is without outside of you, right? And it says in here in the book, and I want to explain that because it was kind of made clear to me actually today about that. So in my one book, it says everything is within, but also without, right? So It's not that it exists outside of you. It exists in others, which is outside of you. So it exists within them and it exists within me. So it is outside of you, but it doesn't exist actually outside of you. So if it's inside of somebody outside of you, it's outside of you. If it's within you, it's within you. But it's not like something that isn't within something else, if that makes sense. So the people that are watching this video, source is within you and it's within me. So, but it's within something, it's encompassed within something to be what it is, not what it isn't, right? Because there's nothing outside of me that isn't of it. Everything has it within itself. So it's within itself, regardless of what it's being in the moment, like the grass, the trees, the water, the person, the animal. Everything has source within it. So it is outside of you from that perspective, but we don't see it because we see what it's being, which is the grass, the trees, the people, right? So we see by that, we don't know by that. So unless we have the awareness that it's within everything else, just as it is within me, then we will know that they are it too. Then we can see by itself, which is one with each other, not separate from each other. So when you acknowledge somebody for being their own God, their own wisdom, their own source, their own divine connection, then you'll have a different perspective. And then also when we're in the space of source and we're going to attract those who are in the space of their source. If we're not in the space of source and our own true alignment, then we're going to attract things that are not, right? And that's where the suffering comes from. So if we're in our space of love, happiness, bliss, which is source, right? That's in the higher realms, then that's what we attract. And that's the law of attraction. And then if we're not in alignment with source, our bliss, love, and happiness, the higher realms, then we're going to attract what that is, right? And so those are people who are disconnected from theirs, right? Because I can't be in my higher self and be connected and attracted to something that isn't, right? And so when that does happen, though, there's still something within you that's resonating because you're still catching it, right? You're still catching that either lower vibration, which brings you out. So you might be like having a really good day, right? And all bliss high, and then somebody comes in, and knocks you out of your blissful state, right? And that happens. For one, because we are getting out of alignment at some point along the way. Something either throwing us off or something of the past is coming back around, right? To see if you're going to be in your awareness of where you are and see it from a different perspective. And I don't want to say it's like a test, but you can say it that way, right? So it's like it would be like the past coming in to the present moment and kind of testing you where you are. Am I going to recognize it from where I recognized it before in that way, or I'm going to look at it from a new point, which is changing the set point, right? And I did a little video on the set points before. So basically, that's kind of the gist of that. With that saying, so if we're not in our own awareness, with our true selves, which is source, right? So then, it's we're kind of out of it, right? And so, which isn't existing, that isn't of, meaning you are aware of it, not that which isn't being, for I am of myself, not that which isn't, for I am of myself, which is confusing. All right, thereby I am of them, to be of a master unto itself, not them, for I am a source, not them. Thereby it is the giving permission to be that which I am, that I'm not being of for myself, if I'm not being my own master. It is to them to that I am, that I have taken after, which is poverty of my own free will and choice. Thereby is a nature which is not freedom to be, but to be tarnished of them, which is the wilting tree, not the springs of life. The sprigs, I should say, sprigs of life. So like when we're, when it's saying poverty, it's not meaning money. It's meaning I am giving away my power, which is poverty. We're we're lacking in our free will and our choice to be in our own power, which is connected to source, right? So free will doesn't necessarily mean that we're not acting in honor. We do have free will to be, you know, mean, angry, hateful, whatever it is. However, we also have free will to be choice to be in alignment and to have stand our own power to be in alignment with source, right? So when we're not doing that, we're not our own master, we're not in our own power, and so that's the poverty, right? And so you can see that in people's lives, right? So they're in the space of poverty, which is being without source and alignment. And so what is source? It's abundance, love, happiness, bliss, joy. And when we're not in that, we're kind of in the lower realms. And so a lot of people who live or in that space without their divine connection, they are in the lower realms. So what do they experience, right? When you're not in alignment with abundance, you're in the alignment with lack. So you live lack. And so you might experience poverty and suffering in your relationships, in like money, it results in money because the non-physical becomes physical, right? So your energy becomes physically, which manifests in your life, in your own world, which you're experiencing, right? So that's the creation of your world when you're not in alignment with source, if that makes sense. So you have your own free will and nature, which is not freedom to be, but to be tarnished of them. So when you're not in your own power, your own alignment, you're not only in poverty, but you're being tarnished by it. So you take on their belief systems, you take on whatever it is that you're willing to receive through them, right? If you're not in your own power. Right? And so that's the wilting tree, not the sprigs of life. So you've been given life by source to be of the trusts, right? So being a wilting tree, you're dying in life, right? You're stepping away, you're going into lower realms, you're wilting, just like a tree, the wilting tree. You're not really being who you were here meant to be and the reason why you are here, right? Thereby poverty is that which is being unto them, not yourself, for you are of them unto itself, and being one which is source, because you're both source, but you're not in your own power. So you're allowing somebody else to be in power, which is to sit, which is the lack of being unto itself and him to living, so it becomes your life, right? So, and a good example is that, like when we come into life, obviously we come from source into life. We're a newborn baby. And what do? Like we take on the perception and persona of what is a human form. We start to believe, we take on the name, Laura, this Laura person. You become one with it and you think you are it, right? So you lose your connection to source because you've then taken your perception of who you are on, and so you act from that space versus source, right? And then the poverty is that which is being unto them, not yourself, for you are of them, not itself, and being one with source, which is the lack which you live in. So yeah, you bring into your life what you think it is that you are, that you're living, right? So you're creating your life as this person, this separate entity of being, because you have nothing else to relate to. You've come from source into this physical form, and you start forgetting and pulling away from source to be this, right? And then over time it evolves into, okay, this is the Laura person, and then we think it is, and then we have this separate life. Thereby to be of the dead, which is not of the riches, but of itself and him to them, which is next in line to suffering. Thereby you are suffering your own being of it unto itself to that which you come to, which is the realization that you are not it, which is not the being of itself, which is source. It is being separate from that which is being one too. Thereby it is by heaven that I am being by name, which is to be by source, or that of itself that is not. For I am of them unto myself, whereas I am unto myself. Which is meaning the rightful place in being, which is source, not each other. And then it kind of goes on from there. So it's just basically saying, like it's important to just be in your own power, right? You are your own God, your own creator. You have your own world, your own space. And don't let others, don't follow them, because like when we're, like I was saying, like when we are born into the human form, whatever's passed down, because we have nothing else to relate to, like we start taking on their perceptions, whatever they've lived, or what they believe and what they are teaching us, right? Instead of allowing ourselves to be centered with source. Because what are we going to do? We're going to look up to our parents, and we're going to believe, that they're the ones that knows better. But actually they don't, if they're separate of themselves from source, right? So you only know what you know until you don't know it, right? So unless you step away from um, the people that you're hanging out with, or the people that you're with, you start taking on other perceptions, because we are adapted to our environment. So it's kind of like, you only know what you know until you don't know it anymore. So if you started traveling, you're going to see other ways of being, other experiences, but you're in your own little environment. That's what you take on. So that's what creates who we are in the present moment. And that's part of why we pick the parents that we pick. Well, I don't want to really say we are attracted to the parents that we are attracted to. We kind of pick them because we're attracted to it. So, for instance, you have to have something in common with your parents in order to be born to them, right? So, there's that. And you can call it whether we pick them or we're attracted to them, it's all the same thing. We can't, wherever we are in our soul, our energy, or what we need to do next as a spiritual being in evolution, we are picking our experience that we come into to be there, so we can move to the next level, right? If that makes sense. So, like, I wouldn't be able to. I didn't obviously pick, a guru for my parents or something like that. I picked somebody who would set my growth in that direction, but obviously they were far, far from being a guru or something like that, right? And so, but it's helped me along my evolution to pick and choose what I wanted to be and do, and how I wanted to be as my Laura self. Not that I don't have those teachings from them because of how they were. I observed them, I experienced them in living in that, as I was growing up and being raised. However, I still had the awareness, like, yeah, that's not what I want to do. That's not who I want to be. We still have that awareness, and we still have free will and choice, right? And it's just being aware of that, and then choosing that. But we can't be born to parents or something else that isn't something that is going to attract or be a match to where we are, so that we can evolve. There's nothing that we will be attracted to that will be lower or less than what we already are, because we already are where we are. There's no going back, right? There's no regression. We can't be where we were, right? So that's why there's no karma in the way that we think it's karma, right? And I did a little video on the karma, getting rid of the karma overlay, right? When we come back in reincarnation, it's not to do what we've done to others, right? Is to, we may still experience it, but from different perspective. So we're not actually getting it back. We're evolving through it from different perspective and realities, right? So it's not, you're getting back what was done to you, but you will experience it from a different place. So we can never actually go back. There's no regression. There's no starting over. There's only starting from the present moment, which was another experience in the addiction center. Um, and then, there's no real death. It's evolution into, from one form to another, which is no form, which is on the other side, and then taken back up form. So the cycle, but and there's so much more about that, otherwise, but and then there's no distinction, not distinction, um, extinction. There we go, that's the word. There's no extinction. So it just evolves, right? Because there's only evolution. right? So everything is evolving at a rate of its own being when it is time where you are into the next thing. And so when you evolve into a new being, whatever that is, you're taking up the form of what's a match or attracting to you to be of it, to have that experience, but it's always moving forward. It's never going back. It's never re-experiencing what you've done to another. And so that's where some of the conflict in perception kind of comes in, and what we think is or isn't of it. So, and a lot of this has been shown to me when, it's from my death experience, and then with this writing that I'm channeling this information. So, it's helping me shift and put things together because, of course, I've had experiences of, uh, you know, going to different churches for a little while, like a month here, a month there. And like I said before, none of it really resonated with me. I stayed and lived in a Buddhist center for about 5 years. And even there, like some of it just wasn't true to me and make sense, and yes, because part of it's where I'm coming from, but deep down inside, you kind of know, like, yeah, that's not true, right? But yeah, there is the recycling they're coming back from, but it's always from a different perspective. Karma is not reaping what you sow, right? And so you have that in some of those belief systems. So it's not all true. It's just how they are perceiving it and bringing it together to put out there, but it still needs some tweaking because it's not fully true. There's parts that are off, but for the bottom line, they all kind of say the same thing, but just in different ways, and they speak about it in a different way. Um, but yeah, that's basically the gist on that little part there. And I was going to read something else, but I can't find it, and I had come into that yesterday that I thought would have been really cool to share. Maybe I'll do that one later or tomorrow if I can find it. I'll have to go back through because I have, like, I don't know how many pages I have here now. Oh my god, it's so many pages. I'm gonna have to drop it down. And then I have um, the steps, invocations, and passages that I'm putting out there. That's going to be a short little book. It's just going to be the passages and the invocations. If you did want to do the healing, transforming the karmic overlay, that's going to be in a little book, and that'll be out there on Amazon here shortly. So I just got done uploading that yesterday, and I'm going to check and see if it was approved. But that'll be for sale if you wanted to do start working on that. All right. So, alrighty. If you had any questions or want to do a session, I do coaching. Um, and also, I do like intuitive sessions, things like that still. But if you wanted to reach out for a session, just let me know. If you wanted to share some experience or kindly comments below, please do that. Like, share, and subscribe. And stay tuned for more little clips from the book that I'm channeling, and also I'm going to be doing more of the sharing of my experiences. Happy journeys.